Dear grade 12 students, welcome to this video which is about the writing of module 7a part 1 student book page 103. There are two objectives in today's video. The first one is that we are going to recognize the 5 stages of a story plot development. Each story has got a plot, and this plot is developed in 5 stages. We will recognize these 5 stages. Number 2, we will identify 6 types of narrative hooks as used by story writers. So writers use narrative hooks. What is a narrative hook, and what are the 6 types of these narrative hooks? This is what we are going to identify in the second part of the video. Indeed, if you have a story like this, what makes you want to read this story? Indeed, there are 3 main reasons that make people eager to read a story. The first one is the beginning. If the story generates interest from the very beginning by means of a narrative hook, it's very likely that the reader will carry on reading it. And we will study all about narrative hooks in exercise B2. The second reason is the writer himself, the author. Readers might be interested in reading a story if they know that it has been written by someone whose works are very enjoyable. Can you recognize these writers? The first one is William Shakespeare, and the second is Charles Dickens. Great. The third reason is recommendation from someone you trust his literary taste, someone with high literary taste. Okay. Dear students, if you want to write a story, you need to think of 2 main elements: the theme and the plot. The theme is the main idea, which answers the big question, what am I going to write about? What's my idea in this story? And the plot is the sequence of events. Generally speaking, we can put ideas under 5 main headings: struggle between good and evil, social issues, things that happen in the family, between friends, etc. Back to the right path, which is redemption after a sinful act. Situations with courage, perseverance, hard work and success in life or in solving problems. Taking revenge after being victimized. And the plot, which is the sequence, the arrangement of events. Indeed, writers tend to arrange events or develop the plot in 5 main stages. Let's study them together. My dear student, this is exercise B1 on page 103. Please take time to read the 5 stages of plot development: exposition, rising action, climax, falling action, and resolution, and try to match these stages with their functions. Do you see this word? Function. There is a specific function for each of these 5 stages. The task is match the stages with the functions right here. Please pause and do your best. Once you have finished, please follow. Okay, are you ready? Do you remember the 5 stages? Can you please draw this diagram in your copybook and write down the 5 stages right here? Can you please pause and do it? Are you ready now? Dear students, when you write a story, you need to develop your plot in 5 stages, in 5 paragraphs. each stage should serve a specific function. So you are not writing whatever comes to you. You're not writing haphazardly. You are writing 5 paragraphs with a specific function to each of them. The first paragraph is the exposition, the introduction, the opening paragraph, in which you write about the characters and the setting. The second one is the rising action paragraph, in which you start the central conflict, the central struggle in the story, leading up to the climax. What's the third point here? Right, it's the climax. The conflict reaches its peak in the climax. What follows the climax is the following action, which describes events after the climax, and then we end with the resolution, which describes how conflict is solved. Okay? Kindly, my dear student, read quickly the paragraphs and make sure that you have chosen the right answer. This is the exposition, the introductory paragraph. The function is, you can pause now to read and make sure you've chosen the correct answer. Ready? Right, the function of the exposition is that it introduces the main characters and creates the setting with reference to time and place and establishes the context or the background of the story. Okay, let's take paragraph 2, the rising action. Pause, read, and check your answer. Ready? Okay, the function of the rising action is that it builds tension by describing the series of events leading up to the most intense moment in the story, which is the climax. Right, how about number 3? Pause, read, done. The function of the climax paragraph is that it describes the dramatic turn, the conflict, the struggle, the peak, the turning point of events. Right. How about paragraph 4? The following action, right? It describes the series of events following the turning point or the climax of the story. And the last one is the resolution, which shows how the situation ends or is finally dealt with. Great work. Do you remember this sentence? We will study all about narrative hooks in exercise B2. Here we are with exercise B2. This is the second part, the second objective in our video. What is a narrative hook? The narrative hook is a device, is a means used by writers at the beginning of a story. Why? In order to catch the reader's attention and stimulate and raise his interest to continue reading the story. It is usually the first sentence or the second sentence, sometimes both the first and the second sentence of the opening paragraph. This is the narrative hook, the definition of a narrative hook. There are 6 famous narrative hooks. The first one is a rhetorical question. You can easily recognize a rhetorical question by means of a question word, whether it be a WH question word or a helping verb, and a question mark at the end. For example, what would you do if you are at home alone and there is a blackout? If you start your story with a rhetorical question like this, indeed you are raising interest in the reader to continue reading your story. Another example, have you ever wondered how you would respond if you found yourself caught up in a bank robbery? The second type of hooks is a quotation, and the quotation is inspiring words of a famous person. You can easily recognize a quotation from the inverted commas right here, the quotation marks right here. Take two examples. The Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, said, "Leave that which makes you doubt for that which does not make you doubt." Another quotation, Martin Luther King Jr. once said, "Our lives begin to end." This is called juxtaposition. Our lives begin to end the day we become silent about the things that matter, about the important things. Type number 3 is the direct speech, or words of the main character. For example, "The truth might hurt you, but you deserve to know it," I said, trying to hide my concern, my anxiety, my worry. Another direct speech, "Run, Walid, run! It's heading in your direction," I shouted at the top of my voice. Type number 4 is shocking facts or statistics. For example, in the United States, statistics show that lighting is one of the leading weather-related causes of death and injury. Or statistics show that 59% of teenagers have experienced some form of cyberbullying. Type number 5 is using a vivid description of a scene. You describe a scene perfectly. Like this, outside this cabin right here, the sky lit up as a flash of lightning struck a tree close by, and the rain poured down heavily, beating against the window of the little cabin. Another description, the sun was setting fast, and as darkness fell, wolves could be heard howling in the distance. The last type of hooks is using a dramatic statement. Like this, Hamid and I only realized what had happened when it was too late. Another example, I only realized how much danger I had put myself in when the little girl and I were out of harm's way. We're in a safe place. Okay? Now, my dear student, pause here, take 5 minutes to do exercise B2 by matching the sentences from 1 to 6 with the phrases from A to F to show which type of hook is being used in each case. Once you have finished, please follow to take this feedback. Are you ready now? What is the narrative hook in sentence number 1? You realize the value of your life only when you risk losing it. You are right, it's a dramatic statement. How about number 2? Okay, Hassan, I'll tell you, but only if you promise not to tell anyone, I whispered, looking around to make sure no one could hear us. Your answer, please. This is the words of the main character. Direct speech of the main character. Right. How about number 3? Dark, threatening clouds covered the sky above us, and it was clear that a fierce storm was heading in our direction. This is your answer, please. Exactly, this is a vivid, a very clear description of the setting. How about number 4? What would you do if a peer, if a friend or a colleague at your school was being bullied? Right, this is a question, a rhetorical question. It's very clear. Nelson Mandela once said, "The brave man is not he who does not feel afraid, but he who conquers that fear." And this is called, right, this is an inspiring, memorable quotation by a famous person who is Nelson Mandela. And the last one, it's clear that it is D. Statistics in the United Kingdom show that most burglaries occur during the daytime between 10 a.m. and 3 p.m. Dear students, for next video, please read the story again and prepare answers to exercises B3, 4, and 5. Also, try to write a story that contains one of the narrative hooks we have just studied. Thank you so much for watching this video, which will be available on Microsoft Teams.